Hello.
What's going on, guys? Can everybody hear me? Beautiful. What are you saying, Tats? It's a small group today, guys. How you doing, Shante? Can you hear me? How you doing, Liv?
Very good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I've got Liv literally like front and center.
Love it. So have I.
Anybody else? I don't know how I pinned you to be the first person here. Sweet. Well, guys, it's going to be a small group because I've done like no promo for this whatsoever, and I'm not letting my 100 followers go to my head. I know we wanted to kind of keep it. Oh, Vanessa's trying to join. There we go. I know, Tats, you're recovering from feeling like death, so I'm probably not going to call on you too much. Liv, you won't
Thanks.
to shout out too much, guys. How's it going, Vanessa?
Oh, it's going well. How's it going for you?
It's going well. I'm recovering from man flu, but I'm being as enthusiastic as I possibly can for you guys because I'm excited for today. So it's a small group today, guys. I've got a couple of things prepped. I'd really like to kind of get to the bottom of what it is that you guys feel like you need the most help with, genuinely. I couldn't think of anything worse than spending my Saturday listening to me with a stuffy nose just lecture on about what I think is going to impress you guys. No need to kind of feel like I'm going to call you out to do any role plays or anything like that. But if you wanted to just kind of unmute or just type in the chat, what are the like top three things from your week this week or from the previous months that you have been closing if you've been on offers that you feel like there's just still a little bit of room for improvement with, whether it's objection handling, whether it's learning how to pre-handle said objections, whether it's knowing what kind of tonality, what kind of fourth wall breaking we should kind of focus on sales when it comes to the more psychological and subconscious side of sales. Whatever it is that you guys feel like you need help with, give me some guidance as to where I should take us down this rabbit hole today.
So I would say that I've had a few interviews where they put you on the spot to do the role play, and
Okay.
because I did a program like what she sells is very specific, and I think the discovery, what advice would you give with the discovery, the ask questions and preempt objections?
As in, like, if you were going into any role from like 30,000 feet above, what does the blueprint look like to get any kind of customer to lean into that buying pocket? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, because personally for me, I don't have experience in the remote closing, so I feel like when I apply, they ghost me. Or
Mm,
when people DM me on Instagram and I tell them, they're just like, I don't know. So I don't know. So sometimes they put you on the spot and then they're like, oh no, this is not what we're looking for. So I think, and right now when I've been role playing, I've been playing different scenarios like mindset, like coaching, like something different besides sales. Because I want to put
yeah.
myself in that mindset where I already have that offer. So
A great mindset to have, by the way. It seems a bit backwards for a lot of the gurus in the space because it's all like placement, placement, placement. But at the end of the day, I think Liv can speak to this more than most. I'm not going to call on her too much, but she works for closers. And at the end of the day, it's all about making sure that you are a fucking expert on what it is that you're selling before you're actually selling the kind of thing. But Vanessa, before I go off on a tangent, if you had to give me, I'm not going to ask you what you're passionate about because you don't need to be too passionate about it. Like, if you were to lean towards a certain kind of offer, what could you see yourself spending 6 to 10 hours a day selling without driving yourself crazy?
probably like Amazon or e-commerce or a course for the mindset.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll use the first two, like Amazon e-com, like a biz op, helping people just kind of make more money or get unstuck from what they're making at the moment. Sound all right?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm gonna grab my whiteboard because you guys are going to enjoy this. So I
I
actually
do.
did a workshop. Yes, there's a whiteboard, guys. I know. So I actually did a workshop on this about 3 months ago. Um, this is just like the overview of how I've seen pretty much every single sales call since, without bigging myself up here, I got good, right? And like I spent a lot of money on mentors that actually knew what they were talking about, and I wasn't just winging it. You've been through, I'm going to speak to you directly, Vanessa, because this one's mainly for you. You said you've been through she cells, right? I've never been through any of Shelby's training. I'm going to be honest with you, so I can't really speak too much to it. I've just seen the content that she's posted. Now, there's other sales trainings that I've been through. Liv will be familiar with this because it's probably one of the more powerful frameworks I've seen, which is the belief ladder. There's 7 beliefs that we've got to either break or build, depending on what end of the pendulum that belief is at in the moment, to get the buyer to say yes. Pain, doubt, cost, desire, money, support, and trust. If you are able to build all of those beliefs, technically, the buyer's going to say yes. Now, the difficult thing to kind of understand if you're just getting started, which is why I'm not going to throw you into the deep end with the 7 beliefs, is you don't really know which buyer already has certain beliefs built prior to the call and which ones you need to build during the call as well. And if you overthink it, you're just going to drive yourself crazy going down a rabbit hole. So I like to just simplify it to just 3 things. Any discovery, I just want to focus on 3 things, which is a desired outcome. Okay, we can put that one over here. So what's the desired outcome these guys are looking for? Okay, what's the transformation we're trying to see? And with any B2C offer, with like BizOp as well, whether it's fitness or BizOp, I like to start by asking questions about the desired outcome. It's less intrusive. People don't feel like they're being sold to because you're just trying to pick on whatever problems or challenges they may have. One of the first questions that I got taught when my sales training was to jump on a call and say, so what's, I guess, the biggest challenge that you're facing right now? And I don't know about you guys, maybe it's just me feeling like a kind of know-it-all at the time. I just felt like even if I did have a challenge or a problem to speak about, who the fuck is this stranger to start assuming I've got a challenge, you know? And straight away we're automatically in like fight or flight mode with fighting sales resistance. And with my style of selling, I always want to make it feel like there isn't a sale going on at all.
Yeah.
The Art of War, Sun Tzu, the greatest battle, the greatest victory is that which requires no battle. Like when you get off a sales call, guys, and it's like an objectionless piff, and you kind of think to yourself, you're like, wait, did I actually do anything there? Or like, that is exactly how selling should feel. If you feel like you're getting off a call and you're like, fucking like wiping sweat off your brow and you're feeling beat, like you got to go do some jumping jacks and before you get to jump on your next call kind of thing, that is not what selling should be. It should really feel as smooth as just the buyer saying yes. So straight away, getting to a desired outcome is the first thing I like to talk about. And we can dive into this like a little bit deeper later on. But once we've got clarity on what the desired outcome is, why it matters to them, okay, what impact that desired outcome is going to have on their future, aka day-to-day changes, okay. And if you get really good, you can start asking who else that's going to impact as well.
Yeah.
Once you've kind of got those 3, like why it matters, what's going to change, and if you kind of extend it and see who else, like what ripple effect is this actually going to have on those that are around you? You know, if they've spoken to their family, their spouses, yada, yada, yada. Who else is this going to impact? Make it bigger than just about them. Now, once you've got those 3 with desired outcome, I say that's pretty solid, genuinely, Vanessa. Like, start on that. Just get to an understanding as to what is the goal that we're working toward? What direction are you hoping to get closer to? Gotcha. Like, so if you want to like open up a call, for example, here's like a word track you could use from like after you've framed the call and you've let them know like what's going to be happening. Be like, so aside from like me just letting you know what it is that we might be able to do for you, because there's a few different options. What's at the top of your to-do list that you want to make sure we achieve today? Like it can literally be something as vague as that. I like to be general. I don't like to try and pinpoint a certain thing because it lets the prospect speak about the most important thing to them. And even if they mention the most important thing to them, it's not necessarily something you can help them with. We're all grown-ups here. We can all go, oh, gotcha, that sounds really cool. I love that you're thinking about that. But just so we can make best use of the time that I can help you with, what about this? And just kind of try and guide the conversation back to something that's in alignment with what you guys can help with. You know,
Yeah.
right away, talking about desired outcomes is the way I like to start it. Now, the second thing that I like to, it's kind of like a velvet slap. I like giving people velvet slaps every now and then because you've got to bring them back down to earth. So once you've spoken about all their goals and their desires, you got these guys dreaming a little bit. right? You want them in their feel goods, right? They're looking through life with rose tinted glasses because they're really going to start to fucking be honest with you, by the way, guys. When people talk about things that they want, they overshare. Now, the great way to just bring them back closer to the buying pocket, because the more they dream, the less they're going to buy. We've got to remember that. We've got to hype them up, but the more they dream, we've got to kind of bring them back down to earth a little bit. Okay, quick little summary. You do, gotcha. So if I'm on the same page, we're working towards X because of Y so that you can Z. Does that make sense, guys? It's not just,
Yeah.
I want to make 10K. It's, I want to make 10K because you've been stuck scraping your bills together month to month, only making 5. And you want to make sure that you can take your missus out for a nice dinner more often. Does that sound about right? Shitty example, guys, but you get the point. We want to contextualize as we go, because when you say it out loud and you get them to agree, it makes it real. It's really small change a lot of people overlook, but it's super, super important. So when we go through an important part of the call, you just leave a little breadcrumb. You know, we're Hansel and Greteling it here. We just want to make sure that we can pinpoint certain points of the call later on during our pitch or objection handling or the transition before we get to those two. And doing little summaries of the important points is like that breadcrumb that makes it easy for the prospect to just get back to even, and I'll take you down the rabbit hole here even fucking further, want to get about quantum side of physics, it's getting them back to the emotional state that you got them in when you asked them the first question, even later on in the call when it's objection handling. Getting them back to the emotional state that we got them to with these questions, okay? So we do a little checkpoint, and the velvet slap that I was talking about is now we talk about their current situation. You can call it current situation, you can call it emotional cost, challenge, pain, problem, whatever the fuck. It's all the same thing. It's about what is actually the reality. I've let you dream for a little bit. Okay, so this is where we're working towards because of X, because of Y, so that you can Z. Now, how does that compare to our current day-to-day? Now, when we zoom in or when we bring ourselves back to today, what's different? What needs to change? What do we like? What don't we like? Why don't we like it? But I see you making notes. I love it. I'll slow down if you need me to. Honestly, just I will keep talking, so just time out if you need me to kind of repeat some notes for you. So how does that compare to our current day-to-day? Because at the end of the day, we now want to identify what the gap is. So if I go all the way back here, that's where they want to go. But this is
Where they are.
Exactly. Now, this is the question that, with the amount of goddamn call reviews that I do, and it was always the first question that came to mind to me that I feel is really underused by a lot of reps. And maybe it's just because like I'm not doing call reviews for fucking seasoned reps, right? Like I'm sure they kind of know what they do. It's kind of more beginner reps that are coming to me. And I think it's because a lot of people feel like they've got to be a lot smarter or seem like they assume a lot more of the correct answers from their prospects than they actually do, which is what I tried to do and I sucked at it because I'm thick. Like, I mean, for those of you that don't know, and this is Vanessa, by the way, Tats is my sister, Tatiana here that's on the call. She can so this just shows how much of a sales loser I am. I've got no friends. All I do is talk about sales. I've got to get my big sister to come support me on these calls. No, I'm just messing. But
No, that's not true. I'm actually learning from my little brother, seeing as I just got into closing. So props where props are due.
Yeah, Vanessa Tats is my protege. She's like my little
Literally.
making sure that she's taken care of. So I always used to think that I needed to know everything and needed to like assume like, oh yeah, gotcha. Like when a prospect gave me answers, like visually kind of show them that I agree. It's honestly one of the worst things you can do. It's honestly one of the worst things you can do. And I'll explain why in a very, very quick and important point. When someone's talking about their problems, who and how many people do you think that they've spoken to, right? Whether it's about like their money problems, whether it's fitness and their weight problems, whether it's somebody running a business and you're doing like B2B consulting offers, which is something I'm selling on at the moment. I'm selling and helping out selling for an agency. Like these business owners, they may talk to their partners about it, like their business partners or their employees a little bit, but it's never going to be to the depth that they truly want to have that conversation. And that's in business, that it's not personal, right? I can tell you it is very fucking personal in business. But when you're talking to a middle-aged woman about her being 45 pounds overweight, right? Or you're speaking to a family man at home who's got 2 kids, middle-aged, scraping his bill together, can barely kind of pay his mortgage. They've got no savings. And he's talking about a life-changing opportunity for him to make more money and change his family's lives. How many people do you really feel like he's had a truly deep conversation with about this? Because I can guarantee all of his closest friends, and if he's a guy, like there is no more shielded prospect that you can sell to an overweight guy trying to sell him on a fitness offer that has no financial ROI to it. He is so shielded. He has had so many opportunities to have a conversation and chosen not to because it goes against the status quo. It's not just with guys, it's with women as well. Because like all the, I mean, I know for a fact I grew up in a house full of women. You know, my dad wasn't in the picture, so I'm about as kind of female energy as they come, guys. Like all the girls will get together. You know, I'll include myself. We'll all get together. You know, we'll go for a dinner. We'll talk about all the drama and all the gossip that's going on in our lives, but we'll never get deeper than that surface level crust, really, if we're honest. Maybe to like our bestest girlfriends, but realistically, it always floats around that surface level, and you always hear the same thing from the people you're speaking to, which is, I get it, man. That must be really tough. You know, that reminds me of something that happened to me. Oh my God, does that not boil your blood when you're having like a deep conversation with somebody and they're like, oh yeah, that reminds me of something that fucking impacted me. And by the way, now I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about me. Like, do you think that only happens to us, or do you think that happens to fucking everybody? No, they're gagging to have this conversation with somebody, but because the status quo is for you to appear more intelligent and more empathetic than what you truly are, it takes away the limelight from somebody that's actually crying out for help. And when we bring people back to the reality after talking about their desires, and you go, gotcha, so that's what we're working towards because of X, Y, so that you can Z. How does that compare to the day-to-day? A question that is so underused is, why is that a problem? So many people get a challenge from prospect and just go, gotcha. Like, oh, well, I'm 15 pounds off where I want to be. You know, I'm only making 5 grand instead of 20, you know, and they go, okay, gotcha. They move on to the next question, the script, you know, that may be digging deeper, but just ask them, like, aside from the obvious, why is that a big enough problem for you to jump on the call? And a lot of people overcomplicate it with really difficult word tracks, but that is probably one of the most human like responses to their answer to your question. Yeah. That's probably one of the most human and empathetic and non-biased, by the way, key emphasis, non-biased, guys. Probably one of the most non-biased ways that you can get someone to expand on their problem. Because you're not putting words in their mouth. You're not digging for something that isn't there yet. If anything, you moving on to the next question in a script is digging for something that isn't there.
Mm.
Maybe it's because I'm literally like a decade into my sales career, right? Including retail sales, but almost 4 years into my high ticket career. Like, I'm very comfortable on my calls, guys. But genuinely, asking why something is a problem is probably one of the best things that you can do to appear as the expert, not knowing but choosing not to assume. It's letting other people kind of lean into it and expand. Is everybody following up until now? Thumbs up. Yes, smiles. Beautiful. So the current situation, why is it a problem? Okay. What is the impact it's having? Are some of the questions that we can ask, you know? Bonus points. Who can give me probably one of the most important questions that we need to ask when quantifying a pain or a problem? What's one of the first and more powerful questions that come to mind? Anybody on the call? No wrong answers. Promise you I won't laugh. But when someone's talking about their problem, what do you think one of the most important questions it is that we need to ask before we move on from this stage of the discovery?
How long has this been a problem?
How long has this been a problem? Boo! We want to get time. Quantifying challenges, quantifying pain is, in my opinion, like top 3 most important things to do on a sales call. Because like this is where we get rid of a very big and overly common objection that people are still getting to this day, which in fact is not an objection at all. Who can tell me what one of the most common objections that isn't even an objection actually is that could be solved by quantifying how long a problem has been a problem?
I need to think about it.
Yes. You guys are on fucking fire today. I need to think about it is not an objection, guys. You've heard this a million times before, so I'm not going to go deeper than just saying that to it because you've probably seen tons of videos and trainings on it. I need to think about is not an objection. Now, even though quantifying time is very, very important, just leaving it at how long has something been going on for is like one of the laziest and lamest ways to get to like a pain or a problem on a sales call. Because when we get to time, and the longer the amount of time that somebody's been in pain, the deeper their belief system is that that is their new normal. The less time, pardon the pun, that we spend giving attention to the delay that they have consciously gone through before solving their problem, right? We need to make sure that we're spending more time on this. Okay, and these are questions that genuinely, like when I've got onto an offer, I've never seen a script with these kind of questions on there, and I don't know why, because it seems like people are just trying to sell to like the superficial. But at the end of the day, it's not the person that we're speaking to, it's not the voice that's coming out of these prospects' mouths that have been making their decisions for them. This is probably going to confuse you guys or just let you in on like my marvelous Pandora's box of how my brain works. Like everybody's got multiple voices that speak for them. Me more than most, probably, I'll admit to. But like not everybody acts in their best interest. But you've got to look very far and wide to find somebody that doesn't at least speak in their best interests. You know, so we've got to make sure that we're not just talking to the superficial version of our prospects. We've got to start talking to what's been going on in here. You know, I want to speak to the really small version of you. I'm trying to get in. There we go.
Let Tats back in the room, please.
Yeah,
Thanks.
if you ask politely. There we go.
Thanks.
Like,
Hello.
I always want to speak to, I visualize a really small version of my prospects, like a really tiny version of them that's just like sat on their shoulder, that is so small you can barely hear them. But that is the real version of my prospect that's like gagging to get out. And a lot of times when we're speaking to people that end up giving us think about it objections, is because we haven't challenged their previous status quo. You know, like even if someone's only been dealing with a problem for like 3 months, like a lot of people would think, oh, that's not a long time. You know, I can't be too tough on them. I can't be. You know, it's only been 3 months. Bitch, that's a quarter of a year. You know, like 3 months is a long fucking time for me as the responsible closer to be letting somebody else live with something that my solution would solve for them. You know, like a day is too fucking long. You know, like the best case scenario, you want to plant a tree 20 years ago. The second base time is you plant that seed today. It's not tomorrow, it's not in a week's time because you've been thinking about it for long enough, you know? So a question that is very underused as well, this is turning into like a golden nuggets question of like undervalued questions. You guys are going to be walking away like geez with this. What went through people's minds when they've had the opportunity to fix this in the past? You know, what actually goes through people's minds when it came to deciding this in the first place? A lot of people that we're going to speak to, chances are it's them jumping on the call with us, especially nowadays with the amount of high ticket offers that are, like how many Facebook ads have been run over the past decade. People are probably going to have tried something before choosing us. And I mean, I'll let anybody kind of speak up to try and disagree with me, but most of the time, probably been things that are free or cheap, affordable, disposable, expendable stuff. Like, oh yeah, I thought I'd give it a go just because, like, why not? Now, if they've made decisions in the past, however big or small, like I see that as a win as a sales rep, genuinely. Even if they've just tried something that's free, because I'm not focusing on just the financial side of things, because I'm going to sell to their belief system, not their bank accounts at the end of the day. So questions that I want to ask when I'm talking about their pain, right? And other avenues that we go down is like the impact of this pain, how long it's been going on for, like Shante said very well. But then we're going to talk about past solutions. And this is where we get to the emotional side of the call and like the actual cost side of the call, which is going to be the third and final thing that we talk about. But the way we lay ourselves up to talk about the emotional cost and what's going to happen if nothing changes, so that we create urgency, which is another way to just get rid of the think about it objection. I'm going to act like you guys can read that with my terrible handwriting. But the way we can talk about it is, okay, gotcha. So over those past 3 months, what have we tried in order to fix this, if anything? Now, no one's ever tried nothing. Okay, in my books, I never let anybody tell me that, oh no, I've never really tried anything. Okay, I used to rip it on a fitness offer, mainly because it was middle-aged women. Maybe I found my demographic that worked really well. Maybe it was the accent, who knows? But I was ripping 65% close rates over the course of like 6 months on a $5,800 offer for 6 months, like for 6 months of coaching. I was ripping. But one of the main things that I did was sell to people's belief systems, in that they have already decided to do something about this. It's not anything to do with the money. So what I want to ask people is, okay, so what went through your mind when you decided to choose these options as opposed to others? Okay. Or if people are talking about having previous opportunities but then backing out, is what went through your mind that made you feel like it was a better idea to hold off instead of step forward into that opportunity to do something about it? I want people talking to me about their thought processes, not just the decisions they made. I want to get people to open up as to what was the fuel that actually made that decision start running. This is where we get people talking about their opinions. Oh, well, maybe it sounds like an excuse. This is where people really start to talk about the reasoning behind their decision making. And I see far too few reps using it nowadays. Does that make sense though, guys? Are you following with where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Yes.
What questions does anybody have for me? Who's actually here? Does anybody have any questions for me whatsoever? Vanessa?
None so far.
Oftentimes when I do role plays or anything like that, they always emphasize to deal on the pain. So how do you deal on the pain? Do you just keep them held for long? Like when you ask them, like, why did you do this? Why do you feel this didn't work? Or do you see yourself in 6 months in the same position? Or how do you deal in the pain? Because oftentimes for me, I've joined calls just for the fun of it. And I know I'm not going to buy, but I see how people deal with the pain. And it's like, I buy when I feel the pain. I do the change because I'm like, I cannot be here anymore. I just can't.
Yeah, so there's a few different answers I can give you to that question. First of all, like as much as I'd love to say that we can close everybody, and I still believe there is like some magical word tracked out there that we still haven't found that can just like close everybody like that. That's at least what I'm searching for. But look, if someone's coming to a call just for the sake of coming to a call, and they don't have a necessary amount of pain with their current situation or urgency, then there's only so much that your questions can kind of get out of that, you know. So if you got somebody like you that's jumping on a call just for the sake of jumping on a call, you can dig for pain until the cows come home, right? The fat lady can start singing, that they're not going to buy, because like you did your perfect job following a process and doing what you can to expose said pain, but sometimes it's not enough pain to get people to act. So don't beat yourself up about that too much. But when we're talking about people that actually have a problem, if I were to ask you to, for example, do like a gentle step-by-step role play with me as to how you currently go after pain, do you think it would help if I kind of stepped in and tag teamed as to the different directions I would go in?
Yeah, but I think I need to work on the discovery. So I would be open to doing a role play, but I don't know.
That's so fun.
Intimidating.
How about, I mean, you can put me on the spot if you want me to. You can be a prospect and I can act as you as the sales rep if you'd like to. Just give me like an offer to sell. Like if you wanted to do fitness, for example, we can do a fitness offer if you wanted to be like a prospect, and I can do that. Because that's like, I mean, to be honest, fitness is probably the hardest thing to sell. So if you wanted to like be a bit of a dick with me, if you wanted to see how to handle that, because there's no like financial ROI I can hold on to, then we can do that one. Then you can just see how kind of I go outcome pain and what I consider to be enough pain, so to speak.
Okay. I mean, I was a setter before in a fitness offer, but I'm not a closer, so that would be interesting. Yeah.
Cool. Tats, did you just raise your hand?
Yeah. I just wanted to ask if I could interject for 1 second just on Vanessa's perspective, because my offer is for clients that do not have pain. So I just wanted to give a perspective on how we frame that. So ours is more on a 20% methodology formulated, 80% psychological, basically like what Tyler's talking about. Rather than so much focusing on pain, we do hit on pain questions like, what is your current situation? How are you feeling? Are you happy in your day-to-day? Because if you were, why are you on this call in the first place? So we do get around that. We get around more personal things like their spouses, time with their family. How old are their children now? How old are their children going to be in 5, 10, and 20 years? And what is going to be expected from them? And what is their phase of life going to be at each one of those milestone points? And if they don't make a change now and they're still where they're at, are they going to be happy with that, with their potential future grandchildren, health that they need to provide for? Where do they want to be living? Do they want their kids need to be paid for college? Things like that. So when people don't have so much of an urgency pain currently, their pain could be what their future looks like if nothing changes. Does that help you with that sense?
That's
Yeah.
actually a good point. Very, very
Just
good.
wanted to give that perspective.
No, you fucking nailed it. Because yeah, there are some offers. And if anybody gets into B2B offers,
That's what I was gonna say.
there's a lot of times where people, I mean, people are fucking delusional, guys. Let's be real and cut the bullshit. Like people could be drowning and all of a sudden they jump on a sales call and oh my God, they're kings of the universe. You know, it's like, dude, just live your life through a Zoom call. I'm sure you'd be a lot happier, you know? But a lot of times there might not even be a problem. There might not be a pain. Like that's the difference. That's the difference why you'll hear me say like between pain and problem. Like there's always a problem, but there's not always a pain. You know, so I kind of repeat what I said previously. There's always a problem. There isn't always necessarily a pain that comes with it. And I always think of an analogy that I think I got this from Cole Gordon, funnily enough. Shout out. Is that there's an old dog on a porch with like a farmer as like the owner, and like once a week a postman comes and delivers a package, you know, like paychecks or payslips or something. And he walks up and like they'd be talking, strike up a conversation, the postman and the old man, not the dog obviously, and the dog would just laying there on the porch, and like every now and then he'd kind of sit up and like kind of howl or growl a little bit like as if he was in pain, but then he'd just like lay back down again. And the dog would do this every single time the postman came. And the postman one day asked, like, dude, what is it with the dog? Like, I know he's old, but what's going on? Like, does he need to get put down? He's like, no, he's fine. He'll live for another 20 years. The only thing is the old soddy, he's probably laying down on a rusty nail on the porch. And it's annoying, but it doesn't hurt him enough to get up and move. And that's like a very, very powerful analogy for all of us to remember, because I think all of us can give at least like put our hands up and say, we can come up with at least one example of things that we don't like about our lives. Right? And it could be something like really simple, like the color that your walls are painted or something. I'm talking something really silly, you know, but it's just become your new normal because it's not a big enough problem for you to consider it a pain. There's tons of offers like that, tons of offers. A lot of, I mean, if your advertising is proper, like if you're doing like a real estate, is your offer real estate tax? What is your offer?
Well, agent infopreneur aimed at real estate aimed at realtors in America, but that want to pivot from production into creating their own online brand to venture into the infopreneur space.
Perfect. You know, these are people that are they've made some money. You know, they've
Yeah.
made, or at least like as I said, like if your marketing funnel's doing well enough, like these are people that have made some money. So even if they do have a problem, they are automatically going to compare themselves to the majority of broke people out there that are barely making their bills, and they're going to say, "Oh, I'm doing really fucking well." But in their world, it's not doing very well whatsoever. You know, so we'll do this. Tats, you seem to have sparked up a little bit. Would you be the prospect for the role play? Because I want to do it for Vanessa, and then she'll have a chance to take some notes, so she's not trying to do too many things at once. Does that sound like a plan?
Okie dokie.
Yeah, I knew you're gonna hate me after this, guys. She's gonna text me. She's gonna be like, "I told you before, do not call on me." But anyway, it's what this is for.
Should we record it for like a Christmas card or something?
Let's not.
That's hilarious. This has already been recorded, by the way, guys. So
Fabulous.
There you go.
so
So
Vanessa,
what are we doing it based around?
so we're gonna do it based on it's a fitness offer. Because that's something that Vanessa's gonna be familiar with from her setting days, and you're just gonna act as somebody who, I mean, clearly you're not overweight, right? You're a string bean like me, but act as somebody who's like 15, 20 kilos or pounds overweight, and you just want to start seeing some changes. And there's not going to be like any immediate pain. I'm not going to dig into the pain like straight away down your throat. What I'm going to try and create here, Vanessa, is contrast. I don't want to dig for unnecessary pain, and that might be an interesting perspective shift for you, is I want to create contrast between where somebody's at and where they told me they really want to get to. Because that's where incongruency is going to come from. That's where the buying pocket that people are in by the time they hand us their credit cards, that's where they need to be, is in that buying pocket. So if we start things off, like for example, how I'd frame my first question on the fitness call would be something like, so like workouts and meal plans aside for a sec, Tats, between you and I, what's like the real outcome that you're currently working towards that you need a bit of help with?
Well, I've, over the last few months, I've kind of noticed that my clothes aren't fitting anymore. I've had to go up a size, and I've noticed it in myself that I've put on a bit of weight, and I've tried to lose it, but nothing seems to be working at the moment.
Gotcha. What do you mean you've gone up a size?
In my clothes, I've noticed that all the clothes in my wardrobe that I've had to replace over the last few months. I had some personal stuff happened, and I think that got me off track. So I have put a bit of weight on, and I've noticed that, and I'm struggling to lose it.
Gotcha. We're going to pause there because I don't know if anybody else saw what just happened there. Hopefully you did. And again, this isn't me bigging myself up, guys, but how basic of a fucking question did I ask? Like how basic of a question did I actually ask that I got Tats to lean in and give me more which, by the way, you gave me gold. I don't know if you're going easy on me, but like there was some gold there. Like genuinely just my tonality with the first question there, Vanessa, was, what do you mean? You know, it could be something as obvious as going up a dress size, for fuck's sake. But how many people would have like just taken that as that's a pain, gone up a dress size? Now she's told me she's replaced her whole wardrobe as well, you know? But then she also told me something else. And these are things that a lot of people probably would have gone through, especially if we're like, at least I had it when I was selling to women or young ladies, you know, is they've probably gone through something, you know? A lot of women nowadays, like they're kind of having to take time off from corporate work because it's just too much for them, you know? That's a personal thing. Could be a breakup, you know?
That's where I was going.
Oh, I know. It could be a breakup, you know, God forbid, it could be a fucking death in the family. You know, that's like a very extreme one, like as long as it's like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like as long as it's not like a parent or a spouse or something like that. If it's like a distant kind of thing and it's created work stress, anything like that, that's just another anchor point that we can lean on, especially if we're talking about fitness. And I used to lean on this so much, is like, if you're using that as an excuse, like even just the downtime, like going through a breakup and not being able to handle what life throws at you, again, that is just something else we want to dig on. You know, when people bring up excuses, I don't let them lean into it. I'll probably let them kind of lean into it a little bit at the start, you know, so I'm not jumping down people's throats. But even when it's just down to, again, the decision-making process, you know, something personal happened, that's the kind of information I want. Okay. So like if we go back into role play, you mentioned going up a dress size. A question that you can ask guys if you wanted to get super specific is like, okay, gotcha. When you say like go up, has it just been one, or are we talking it's been a couple? Like what were you before and what are you now?
So basically, since I went past my teens, I've always been the same size, around a size 4 to 6. And now I'm struggling to feel comfortable in an 8. I would lean more so to like a larger 8.
Gotcha. So, and again, guys, quick little timeout. This is
Oh,
like,
sorry, UK sizes.
no, that's fine. That's perfect. But I'm just saying for Vanessa, like, again, don't be afraid to just summarize what people say. One of the easiest ways for being a new rep, just to make sure you're staying on track. And you might think initially that don't repeat fucking everything that people say. Like, don't be a parrot, right? But just every third or fourth sentence or question that you ask, when you get to a bit of gold and you can sense, like, you got it in your gut. Everybody's got that bullshit meter or kind of gold meter in their gut. It's like, oh, if that was me, that would be important. You know, so you just want to kind of, again, leave a breadcrumb, do a quick little summary and go. And the way I would do it on that occasion would be, okay, gotcha. So like for most of your life, you've been more used to a 4, maybe a 6 at a stretch, but now you're struggling to feel comfortable in an 8. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Notice the tonality. Okay. If you guys haven't noticed, what was the first question that I asked? It was an outcome-based question. Desired outcome. What's the outcome that you and I are working towards? You know, what's the outcome that you're currently wanting to work towards that you need a bit of help with? You know, if anything. But what has Tats automatically started talking about now? A problem, in case you haven't realized it, you know? So as much as I can say that it's super important to focus on digging for pain, sometimes if you ask the right questions, it just comes out, you know, in that occasion when it's there. People can't help but kind of compare it, you know? So gotcha, yeah, I want to do this, but, or because I am now this. Now, when it comes to what was the last thing that Tat said, so she's been struggling to kind of get to an 8. Gotcha. So been struggling to feel comfortable in an 8. So you're feeling like a large 8. You know, we could quantify like the progress of how long it's kind of taken to get here. Be like, okay, gotcha. Like, when's the last time that you were able to fit into something that was a size 4?
I'd say probably at the beginning of the summer, maybe like May time.
Gotcha. In May. Okay.
Hmm.
It wasn't too long ago. We're talking what, like 4, 5, 6 months? I mean,
Hmm.
aside from the obvious, what do you feel might have contributed to going from a 4 in May to struggling to squeeze into an 8 in October?
Well, I kind of know what it was. I had a breakup with a long-term partner, which affected me. I kind of checked out of life for a little bit and stopped focusing on myself and my health. But I feel like at this point, it's got out of control to the point that it's affecting my daily life now because I notice it every day.
Really well lay up there, Tats, but here's a cool question that we can ask from this point, which is just another layering question. It's another probing question. I'm not taking any limelight. I'm just biting the grenade or like throwing the tennis ball straight back at you. Because if someone's saying like it's impacting me, it's impacting my work, it's impacting my energy, it could be impacting my confidence. It doesn't need to be something too big. But if someone mentions anything about an impact or noticing changes, the immediate question I like to ask is, oh, interesting. So what is the ripple effect that this is having on the rest of your day to day? Remember, we're expanding that
That's
impact
good.
from back here. Ripple effect, spilling over is like other like tactical language we want to use. We want to use very visual language. I like to paint a bit of a word picture when I'm asking stuff. So I'd ask Tats, like, okay, got you, kind of noticing it elsewhere. Like, would you mind if I asked you a bit of a personal question? Yes.
Mm.
What ripple effects have you actually noticed that having on the rest of your day to day in the more recent months?
Well, I just feel less confident in myself. I feel uncomfortable in my skin. I don't feel like I want to be around people that I've known because I know that they're going to see a change. It's making me feel like I just want to stay inside and not get out there, which is then leading me to just want to eat more and drown my sorrows. And I feel like I'm in a hamster wheel and nothing's getting any better. And I can't seem to snap out of it.
Beautiful. Quick time out because I like the stuff that Tats like. There's a lot of people that are going to say stuff like this, guys. You know, like not going out as much. You know, deciding to just kind of stay in and maybe not wear the kind of one I used to get all the time with fitness is like there's always a fucking pair of jeans. Like I felt like I almost needed to add the question into my script. There's always a favorite. I don't know what it is with you guys. Always a fucking favorite pair of jeans that you can no longer fit into. You know, and like there's always going to be something that changes. And the question that I want to ask Tats right now, which is one that I was hinting at previously about the state of mind and the status quo, is along the lines of, I guess that kind of makes sense. Like after she's kind of giving me, I want to say that kind of makes sense, but I'm still not sure on something like when you do reach, and I'll give you guys a few examples. When you do reach for that pair of denim jeans, or when you did reach for that bikini, or when you did reach for your car keys to go out and have a good time with your girlfriends, but decided not to, what did the voice in your head actually say to make you do that? You know, like, or like, for example, you not feeling comfortable in your own skin, or like not feeling comfortable wearing certain clothing, doesn't mean you can't wear it. Okay, that's another thing that a lot of closers will just assume is a question we don't need to ask. Okay, but what is it that you feel is most uncomfortable when you wear it? Because like it's not like you can't wear it, right?
Yeah.
Do you want me to answer?
No. I mean, you can.
Okay. I was like,
It's like,
did we slip back into it?
yeah, like for example, I remember one that I got. She ended up crying on the court, and I'm not a meanie guy, by the way, guys. I mean, like it was good tears from what was her name? Anyway, lovely lady. But I was talking to her, and she was basically saying that she hasn't been able to wear a crop top in like 2 years, and it's still there in her wardrobe. And I asked her, what goes through your head when you're getting ready in the morning and you want to kind of reach, because she mentioned I want to reach for the crop top, I want to wear it. What goes through your mind when you reach for it but always want to put it back? And she's like, oh well, like am I ever going to fit into it again? You know, is it, am I ever going to be able to feel like I felt in that shirt? How do you believe you need to feel in order for that shirt not to wear you, but you wear it? Can't think, if you want to get really girly, you know. What changes do you believe you would need to see in your, and this is me kind of going back into role play after, let's say we've got through a couple of probing questions. I ask you, so Tats, kind of looking at where we want to be and where we are today, what's the difference in the two versions of you that we would need to start to see some changes in today to know that we're working towards where you want to get to? When you look at yourself in the mirror, for example, you know, when you look at yourself in the mirror, what are the immediate changes that you would like to see to know that we're on the right track? Is Tats froze? I mean, Tats and Liv froze. That's convenient. But anyway, that's the question that I would ask Vanessa, is essentially, once we've got the goal, once we're starting to get an idea of what the pain is, you know, okay, so when we look at that version of you and we look at the version of you today, what are the immediate changes that you would know you'd need to see to know that you're moving in the right direction? That's where we start to get zoomed in on exactly what the changes we'd need to see, right? What's the problem? What are the things that we need to start to see fixed for us to get any closer, you know? And again, a question that I would ask, if you want to write down some notes as to probing questions that we ask here, is why that? You know, an example in fitness, if I was speaking to ladies, I'd be like, okay, gotcha. So like, it's everybody's goal to always trim down and get leaner. You know, I want to get leaner. I want to feel healthier. I want to be a little bit stronger, but mainly I want to be leaner and I want to get as close to having abs as possible. That's basically everybody in fitness. Okay, gotcha. So when we look at ourselves in the mirror and we look at ourselves kind of today compared to what we want to be, where are the immediate changes that we need to start kind of working on? Like this, and this. Okay. Out of curiosity, aside from the obvious, what makes you say this, and this? Okay. And if they give you a vague answer, but I guess what friction is that causing in your day to day that you mentioned you're trying to kind of, oh, gotcha, it's because my shirts don't fit nicely anymore. You know, it's because my rolls are actually like hanging over my jeans now when they should be in them. Okay, I could have assumed that, but I'm just probing gently, childlike curiosity. You know, how can I actually get people to tell me what the truth is? And it's just with that childlike curiosity. Now, once we've kind of understood the pain, are you following up until now though, Vanessa? Making sense?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Now, when it comes about creating urgency, because once we've got the desired outcome, you know, why we want it, what are the changes we need to see to get there? And we've spoken about the problem, what impact that's having on us. The next stage is to talk about past solutions and urgency, you know, and again, this is still talking about the pain. I don't like to move on from it. You've got to contextualize it based on the problems that you've just spoken about at the end of the day. So it's not about completely drifting away from pain. It's just about making the pain urgent enough for them to do something about it. So seeing as I think as Tatsa live, they're roommates, so I think their Wi-Fi probably just cut out, which is kind of funny. So seeing as there's nobody else, would you like to be the prospect and I'll take it slow, just between you and
Yeah.
I?
Mhm.
Cool.
Tyler, you let Tats back in the room.
Oh,
Sorry,
there she is.
the Wi-Fi keeps dropping.
I told you. I knew it. Here we go.
Apologies, everybody. We ruined the flow.
That's all right.
Demonstrate
Listen.
curiosity and we're ruining it.
Tats needs to make more money to pay for her fucking Wi-Fi bill. Jesus. Right. You came back just in the nick of time though, because we're going to run through how we get this pain and how we make it urgent. Okay. I want to get rid of injections. So I'm not going through the whole flow, guys, but once we've basically spoken about the desired outcome, okay, why that's important, what changes we're going to see once that's the case, you know, if the conversation makes sense, brought it back to current situation, what are the what's different from the fucking version of ourselves that we're trying to become? Okay, so what needs to change from that point? Why are those the things that you believe they need to change? Okay, like why is that the thing that's at the top of your to-do list? I could assume, but I want to hear it from you. Like, aside from the obvious, like, why are those the main things that you're trying to fix? You know, why is it getting back into your clothes? Why is it being able to feel confident and stepping out with your friends? Why is that the kind of thing that's at the top of your to-do list, Tats? And we'll just kind of jump in and give me a reason.
You know, I used to enjoy hanging out with my friends and having a good time and having a bit of a social life. And I feel like now I've turned a little bit, well, not a little bit, hugely more into like a recluse, and I feel detached. So being able to kind of get my spark back is kind of me getting my life back again, because at the moment I feel like I don't have my life.
Damn. When's the last time you felt like you had that spark back? Was it back then in May or?
You know, things were going bad personally, as mentioned, for a little bit, but it wasn't as bad as where I'm at now. So I'd say in May, there was still a version of me that was more likable than the one that I kind of face today. But still, I want to be that person and more.
I gotcha. So at that point, once you got enough pain, guys, move on to past solutions. So since May, aside from like the personal stuff that you've had going on, I'm not going to kind of take any power away from that, Tats. Obviously, it's going to have some kind of hold over you, and we don't need to talk about it if you don't want to. But what have you managed to just try and do on your own since May to put yourself in whatever position you felt was strongest to keep taking that next step forward towards where you're trying to go?
Yeah. In all honesty, I don't think that I have. I think that that is where the issue lies, is I don't have any self motivation to get out of this continuous cycle that I'm in at the moment. I don't have it in me, but I know that where I'm at is not where I want to be. So that's the kind of the help that I'm looking for, I think.
Perfect. Okay, we're going to pause there because what did I say earlier, guys? A lot of people are going to say that they've never done anything. They've never tried anything. What that means is they've never got off their fucking asses to get uncomfortable enough to act on the thoughts that they have been having for God knows how long. Okay. You would have to be brain dead for me, a closer on the other side of the call, to take you telling me that you've done nothing about this over the past 4 months and me believe you. Like, you would have to be a vegetable on a hospital bed for me to believe you, right? And that ain't going to happen, touch wood. But at the end of the day, what I want to do now is I want to challenge that with Tats, because if I let her keep thinking that she's done nothing, including not even think about fixing this, she's going to be far more likely to lean into the let me do more research, let me just make sure like now's the right time, I need to sleep on it, I need to think about it. Okay, this is where I create that contrast, not just in the results that she's not getting compared to where she wants to be, but tension in the time that she's already been living with this problem. So the way I would go about it and the way I'd challenge it, I'd be like, okay, gotcha. So you're telling me like it's just no steps have been taken since May. Like whatever you've had going on has just taken like full front and center of like your entire reality since then.
Well, obviously, when that stuff happened, I was feeling some way about myself. So I did take some time to dwell on that. But I
Yeah.
feel that within that time period is when I've let go of myself body wise. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, my friends have invited me, to go and play paddle with them or go for a walk. But I already don't feel comfortable. So I don't want to be out in public looking the way that I do. So like I said, I feel like I'm getting more and more closed in and the situation isn't going to get any better, but I don't know how to put myself in a position where to take that step because of how I look. And I know that I need to.
I gotcha. What makes you say that you know that you need to, Tats?
Because I'm not happy. I'm not happy with how my life is at the moment, but I just can't seem to find that inner voice inside of me to give me the push to get that jump start that I need.
I gotcha. Now, attention, this is where, like, in the next few questions is where I'm going to create the most amount of urgency and cost of inaction in this conversation. And this is like right before I transition out of discovery and go to like close is going to be the next few questions that I ask. So like with the context you just gave me, it's like, oh, okay, gotcha. So is it safe to say, like, with everything that you've had going on, you just decided to try and kind of front the loads all on your own, Tats? Or have you had somebody supporting you along this journey as well?
No, I've definitely done this. I've definitely taken this all on myself for sure.
I gotcha. And look, I'm gonna build them up a little bit. I admire the mindset. I admire you wanting to handle this on your own. And you know what? People have done it in the past on their own, so I can't blame you. What went through your mind when you decided to try and kind of just force yourself through this on your own instead of having a support system by the side of you?
My thoughts stayed as thoughts. They didn't turn into any form of action. And even on the times where I did think, okay, today might be the day where I might like sign up to a gym or ask a friend to go for a walk, just that feeling of looking at myself before I'm going to leave the house is always something that has stopped me. So I need to find some way of having some level of support of something that maybe I could either start at home or I don't know, but that's why I'm here.
I gotcha. I always like to ask permission before asking like deep questions like this. I'll be like, kind of hesitate, like look like you're feeling uncomfortable. You know, it really sells it a little bit. Be like, can I can I ask you like a really it's a really difficult question. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Are you sure? I don't want you to get upset with me.
Well, if it's too much, I just won't answer.
Like you can like laugh it off, you know, like it, but ask for permission. Be like, just based on how the past few months have played out with you trying to get through this on your own, and look, at least you've been thinking about it, but not really getting far enough to take the opportunity and run with it. How can you honestly see the next few months playing out without that right support system and accountability to make sure that we don't just start and stop at a thought, but we actually get moving and start acting on these thoughts as well, Tats?
To be honest, I really don't think that it can go on much longer because I'm already extremely unhappy with how I am now. And if this then continues, it's only going to snowball. And I can already see that. And I want to at least try and address it when I'm in a position where I can make a change and not too much of a significant time frame so that I have at least some level of motivation. So to answer your question, probably not that much longer because I'm not living.
That's an answer that a lot of people will give us because they think it's what we want to hear, but that still isn't good enough for me. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to keep my foot on my throat. And either way, when someone leans into me, what am I going to do? I'm going to lean out. It's the buyer seller dance. You know, we're boogieing. I'm not going to fill the space if Tats has already filled it. I'm going to step away to create the space for the conversation to go any further. So with what she's just thrown at me, I can go, do you know what? I hear that all the time, but not many people really follow through. What makes you feel like you're going to be any different?
That's actually a really good question.
Or another way to ask it, by the way, guys, because sometimes that can be like a little bit of a that with Tats and the energy she was giving me, I know I could ask her, and I think it's just because I know she's my sister that she's not going to bite or claw my eyes out. But another one you could say is, but why though? You know, because do you know what? It's not like hell's going to freeze over if you don't do this. And I used to use this line all the goddamn time, by the way, guys. Like, do you know what? I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit, you know? And they're expecting me to go, oh my God, you're absolutely right. Yeah, you need to move immediately because I'm trying to sell something to you. I can be like, but you know what? Like, it's not like hell's going to freeze over, you know? And I guess everybody always says that they want to do this kind of stuff, though. I guess what makes you feel like this time is different, though, Tats? You know, that's me leaning out and I'm going to get her to really sell me again. And if someone says not much longer, or I need to fix something ASAP, there's nothing that frustrates me more than seeing a rep hear someone say they want to fix something ASAP and take that as surface level. I'm like, oh my God, you just missed a huge opportunity. You know, if someone says, like, just a quick little side note, once we've got someone to confirm, so we'll kind of role play here before we wrap up. But like, if we play it out, Tats, it's not really like hell's gonna freeze over if you leave this be for another few months. So I guess like, what is it really that when you really look at the situation, what do you feel is making you want to act on this today?
Well, I had the worst summer of my life and I've already felt shit for several months. And if I look or feel either the same or worse this time next year and missed yet another summer of feeling crap, that's unacceptable to me. So that is the reason why I need to do this.
Beautiful. one and final thing to do on this situation with Tat specifically is just, she said that she'd needed to do things a couple of times. Okay. The way I like to just tie down that process is by asking her, because this is going to work with most offers. Even if it's like a B2B done for you offer, the business owner would need to make the decision and take ownership and accountability that the decision needed to be made. But it applies just as equally as it would in fitness. Be like, okay, so if I'm hearing you correctly, it's been a pretty shit few months, and not one that all boils down to you, but at least it seems like that you're taking ownership for it, and that's admirable. I tip my hat to that. But between you and I, Tats, whose choice is it whether next summer is a repeat of this one, or it ends up being the summer where you feel like you finally got your spark back? Is it my choice? Is it anybody else's choice, or is it yours?
It's mine. It's mine.
Cool. Between you and I, do you feel like you're emotionally and mentally ready to get uncomfortable and start working towards that goal?
Yeah, because I spent the last 5 months feeling uncomfortable. So at least this will give me a uncomfortable that will hopefully lead back to not just comfort, but something better.
Beautiful. Round of applause for Tats, my lovely, beautiful assistant. Well done. But that final question is one that I've asked on, and I can say every single sales call that I can remember that I've taken is, if it's B2B, don't ask on a B2B because they'd think you're all woo-woo and full of shit, right? If you're speaking to a CEO, but if you're speaking to just your average Joe on the street, asking that final commitment question after the ownership is what I've found is just the nicest way to tie a bow in the ribbon and just wrap up the discovery conversation, because at that stage now it's when we're transitioning to the pitch, and this is where I kind of take the limelight from there. But that final question to get that commitment from them, it's just, when you look at the conversation I just had with Tats, like how many goddamn layers and tie downs did I get from her based on the pain, the impact, her decision making, how long it's been a problem, and how much longer she's not willing to keep going, plus the emotional decision making behind it. That's where the phrase "death by 1,000 cuts" come from. You know, it's never, I say never, I think there's a couple of sales calls that I can think of where the whole call was shit until I asked like one question, and then like automatically I knew that I could just pitch immediately, like that was the only thing I needed to do. But most of the time it's about the little questions that we stack on top of each other that, I mean, silently back our prospects into a corner. You know, we can see it. People can point a finger at us and say it's manipulation. I don't say it's manipulation because I know the only difference between me changing someone's life and me manipulating them negatively is my intentions. And that's one thing we haven't really had a chance to speak about today, and I'd love the chance to speak about it with you guys, is what's the actual subconscious side of sales that we need to be focusing on? You know, where do my intentions come from? And as long as I'm doing things with a betterment, I've got Vanessa front and center in front of me now, like nodding away, like as long as I'm doing it with the sole intention to make sure that whatever I do is to take her closer to her goal of closing 10K a month in commissions on whatever offer she can, then whatever benefit that's going to come from the conversation, it's going to come to me as a result of doing so, you know?
Yeah.
But with sales, as you've seen from today, the key is going to be curiosity, guys. You know, those 1,000 cuts that are going to eventually weaken the survival mode of your prospects, right? It's going to weaken the comfort zone of your prospects. It's going to come from those 1,000 cuts, which the only cuts that we can give is our questions, you know? So it's not so much following a script, it's listening and probing, you know? But if you guys stick to talking about a desired outcome, contrasting it to current situation, and then talk about what's going to happen if nothing changes, based on the real evidence of what's already happened. Don't sell on a hypothetical future, guys. Always sell on the truth and real data, which is why I like to go back before I go forward when I'm talking about emotional cost of inaction. But as long as you guys focus on these three things, we're going to be all solid. What questions does anybody have for me before we wrap up? Because I've taken 10 minutes more of your time than I already expected to.
I mean, I'm happy to stay as long as you want to stay. I have nothing to do today, but just work on different things. But my question is, I've heard that a lot of people, when they're closers, they're on different offers. Or how do you keep your calendar full? How many offers are you on? Is this true? Because I was sold on a dream that you find an offer and you have control over your calendar and you make you get on the calls and you close. But now I'm hearing from other people that you need to be on 3 to 4 offers just to make
No.
make it work. So I just
No.
want clarification
No.
on that.
You need a good offer. You need a good offer. You need
Okay.
You need a
something.
good offer.
You need something people want to buy. Is
Okay.
that like do your research on the company, but make sure you can sell it. So something you're
You
passionate
need a
about,
solution.
something
You
care
need a
about, something
solution that
know
you
about,
like to a problem.
but make sure it's a good offer. Do the research. They're not a new company. They're older than a year. Check their revenue. Talk to their sales team. Reach out to their reps. See how it's like.
Mm.
See
Don't.
how many leads they've got coming in, how many closers they've actually got on the team already, how many calls have they got on their calendar, what is their average monthly closings. There are enough offers out there to kind of play the field, and when you get good at it, if you want, you can then stack your offers. But people stack offers when they have the skill set and they're actively closing because they know they can. Like,
Yeah.
so just remember from which perspective someone is saying it when they're saying I'm on multiple offers. 9 times out of 10, that is actually a choice.
Yes.
Okay.
In my opinion, being on, and I've not got anything against people that want to stack offers. I mean, I've literally ran sales teams with people that are like part-time and they're doing something else on the side, but it wasn't like multiple high ticket. It was like the dude was doing door to door because it was during the summer, and like selling solar door to door during the summer, it's a wise choice to make, especially in Florida. But if you're on multiple offers, it's in my opinion, that's a red flag.
Yeah.
Personally, it's a red flag as a closer, because that tells me that it
You
it
don't
tells
really
me
believe.
the offers that you've got on aren't strong enough, and they're not trustworthy enough to try and build like a full-time squad. Like this is the thing that has really dirtied the high ticket space, which of course I'm not a fucking guru, by the way, Vanessa. Like I'm still closing. I'd take probably maybe 15 calls a week. So it's not that many. It's like 2 to 3 a day on a good week. But like I'm doing training and stuff like that, but I'm still closing. And the emphasis that I've seen with a lot of the space nowadays is because there are so many people that are being sold the same dream that you have, which, by the way, it's not just a fucking dream. Like I'm literally the stereotypical high ticket sales success story. Genuinely, like I'm not making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month, but in August I made 34 grand in commissions. Like I needed to pay out a little bit to an assistant that was helping me kind of triage some of those calls. I was like 3 grand, but at the end of the day, like that's what I made in August. Last month it was nowhere near that because I took half the calls. But at the end of the day, you only get what you want to get when you're on a good offer and you are good at selling that offer. And the only way you get good at selling that offer is by selling that offer, not juggling between
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
You need
And
to
Yeah.
be
like,
obsessed. You need to be obsessed with it. You need to love it more.
Yeah.
And think of it as a relationship. Like, how would you find a
Yeah.
friend? How would you find a boyfriend? How would you find like
100%. When you're talking about something, and like Jesus, when I was selling fitness, I'd have like, there was a day I had 11 calls scheduled on my calendar, and this is about 4 months into selling the offer, and like I've got a fitness background as well, so I knew what mattered to people, so I could cut like 90% of the bullshit and just get straight to the goal. Like I was closing people in like 35-40 minutes, but still, when you're talking about something for like 8 hours a day, you need to be an expert in it, and it needs to be something you enjoy and something you are confident in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
for me, like even if it could be a great offer, you feeling like you've got to split your time, I think that's a weak link that we can fix by having a different conversation about something, which would probably be like a limiting belief about the offer itself that you might have. There might be like certain testimonials that you've seen that you're like, oh, that doesn't really fill me with too much confidence. And getting back to my original point, which the girls pretty much made a really good job of, is you need to find a good offer. The thing that's sucky is I know a lot of them, like one of the ones that I can say I vouch for is Tim Chow. I've done some work with Tim. I've ran a launch that he had with some closers that we were hiring. I helped him run it once, and Tim's probably one of the only guys that's like one of the high ticket closer bros that actually has a pipeline of really healthy offers to get people on. And the reason I say it's a pipeline of really healthy ones is because it's not always hiring. if you ever get sold something by somebody and they say it's a list of companies and they just have like an apply here button, and it's just an endless carousel of like group interviews and stuff like that, that can pretty much tell me all it is that you need to know. That they are churning through people on a crazy rate. Doesn't mean that you're not going to get really, really sophisticated offers that have really efficient hiring processes. But then again, if you're a brand new rep without any experience, we should also be very self-aware and understand that, yes, I've got the capability of being a great rep. But if I was a business owner with a baby that I was growing, you know, that is fueling my entire lifestyle, would I trust a beginner rep?
I
Present
would.
it,
Can I jump in? Because
please.
I
Yeah.
would agree. If you're a founder, if you're an owner, that's your baby. You love it. You're looking for a closer. You want someone to love that business as much as you. That's why I
Yes.
emphasize you need to love what you do. So if you're,
Yeah.
for example, if you've got a friend and she's got a company and you're like, I love that so much, she would love to have you as your closer because you love it as much as her. That's why you need to find the right offer for you. Doesn't matter how big the company is, doesn't matter how much revenue they're generating, how new they are. If you know you can sell that product and you love that company as much as you will, the offer's perfect for you. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
100%.
Nothing
Yeah.
else will be relevant.
Yeah, my boss that I work for, he is amazing. One of the top realtors in America, helping realtors, like I said, pivot from production to getting their actual freedom. He wants sole freedom for everybody. Make 7 figures anywhere in the world and make it residual revenue. That's what he wants for people. And what I love about working for him is not only does he have a mind that is so into the future that he puts onto me when I meet with him and I learn so much, but I've also learned that a lot of this of what he does is to actually better other people's lives. I'm not actually selling these people something that I know deep down isn't going to help them. I'm selling them something that if they put the 6 months in with us, I've seen the proven results. I know that it's real and I know that they can be literally changing their lives in 6 months from now if they just take that leap of faith. And what I'm trying to learn with my boss and with Colton is really emphasizing that psychological mind shift, because that's what it is. Are you going to bet on yourself? Because what we have is going to make you better. But are you going to put the work in? Because if you don't, well, the results are going to stay the same. I could literally give you the golden goose of life. And if you let it die and you don't do anything with it, you don't nurture it, it's going to give you nothing. It's going to die with you, you know? So that is a really thing. Find someone that you admire or find a business that aligns with your core values, something that you can connect to. Because if you are going to be speaking about something and putting this passion onto somebody so they believe it too, you need to have a little bit inside of you too. Like if someone asked me to sell fucking solar panels tomorrow, no thanks. Like there's not a chance in hell. I wouldn't know. Bricks. Okay. Yeah. Labor. No, I don't know. But I know what it's like to be in real estate because I did it for several years. I know the grind. I know the emotional time and what you have to leverage to even make any money. So I understand that pain point. But I've also understood that when real estate stopped working for me, my brother got me into high ticket sales and I was a setter for a couple of years. Now I've gone on to this, but I stayed in the real estate genre because that's what I like. I like it. So I still stayed into what I was doing physically, but I moved it online, but still within my passion parameter.
Mhm.
And there are thousands of offers out there for,
There
Yeah,
are.
for you to find something.
How do you
I'll
find
just
the offers though? Because I DM like creators, and from my experience, they try to sell me their course. I don't know if I'm talking to their setter or I'm talking to them.
Yeah, with DMing creators,
I wouldn't do that. Yeah.
it's a tough
Yeah.
one. DMing creators is a tough one because, as you just said it yourself, Vanessa, like you've probably been a setter in the DMs before, right? I think I remember you mentioning this in the DMs to me, like, yeah, I'm like reaching out to people, but I think I might be speaking to their setters. That's where landing a role in today's day and age, you either pay for a ridiculously high quality sales coaching training that is also going to cost you a very pretty penny. For example, like for me was Cole Gordon, CloserOS back in the day, and they've got pipelines of really trusted offers because they're a very reputable company. Another one could be Jeremy Miner's NEPQ. I know they do placement too. But the other way is leveraging the network like that you have personally, and that sounds a lot cooler than what I actually mean, which is, as you and I have been speaking already, I believe in the DMs, like I know people that might be hiring. But at the end of the day, these are businesses that I've either worked on myself, so I can vouch for them because I'm not a fucking masochist. Well, I am, but not that much of one that I'd put you through the same pain that I went through. I promise you I'm not an arsehole. But it's going to be offers that I know for a fact are established and that would be an opportunity for you to actually grow, instead of one that you're just kind of paying $500 a month for like a Rolodex of really shitty startups that have probably burnt through 50 reps, that have a horrible onboarding process. And Liv can speak to this. The onboarding process for a new rep is probably one of the most important things for an offer for you to look at, because that, like, your first, how important are first impressions, right? Your first impression of that business as a new rep that's probably really fucking nervous and shitting themselves as to whether they're going to make money, let alone represent the brand correctly. You know, if you don't have a business that's been through that in a way to nurture reps, then you're just going to be left with a sour taste in your mouth as to the whole high ticket sales industry, you know?
Liv and I also got recruited via closers, just letting you know, all three of us. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Hell.
Yeah, Tats is old. Fucking hell.
Oh my God, I never knew that. Oh my God, I
I
am
think
old.
if you do that
Anyway,
as well, you get a heart.
that is
Or you could be
sick.
like, we was doing it at work the other
Anyway,
day. Yeah, out of
Sorry.
anyway, yeah,
context.
I just wanted to
Out of
say
context, we'll move on.
I digress. I digress. Liv and I also went up through closers.io. So I don't, again, it's a rigorous interview process. You have to make Loom videos, you this, you that. They spout things at you and you go through the interview process. But there are ways to look into it. I think, well,
Yeah.
Liv currently
I
works
feel
for
like a third,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like a third wheel, but I actually work for the company for more context on that one. So yeah, it's a process. Just look, go and check out the website. We don't, they've actually scrapped the RCA, so you don't have to pay to get into the program anymore, but it is more of a strenuous process because we do have to qualify you to vet you for our company. But check it out. There's loads of offers on there, but still follow the same advice. You don't have to say yes to every opportunity. So like my experience through closers was very different to Tats. I don't know, Tyler, about yours. Very different to Tatiana's. I went through several offers. It just wasn't for me, but I thought they was because it was something I was interested in. It was like it was in health and wellness, and then it went into like menopausal women like wellness retreats. And yeah, I'm very healthy. I'm into my wellness, but I couldn't sell it to people because I was like, why are you not doing it already? You
Yeah.
have to pick something that you believe in. It's like very sure. So that's the
It's
difference
huge
between
depend.
going through like what Tyler highlighted, coming through the big recruitment chains is fine, but sometimes you don't always get the offers that feel comfortable for you, so you have to move around a lot. If you go out and do your own networking, LinkedIn's great, find coaches, find people that you can trust, do your research, reach out to them is another way of doing it that's more comfortable for you. Try the both of them out, but stick to your guns. To get a good offer first time, stick to your guns and trust yourself, honestly.
Yeah, because I feel like I've applied. I'm in this program, and I've applied, but I haven't received like no interviews like that or callbacks or anything. And when I DM people, which is what Shelby suggests in her software, that's basically where she has the list of
Are you,
creators, and we just
sorry, are
DM.
you part of Shelby's program?
Yeah, that's what she's in.
Are
She
you part of
sells.
are you part of the community, Facebook community? Shelby's
Yeah,
twat. So you're part of
and
the community.
the software actually, I have it in my other computer. I could show you a little bit.
How long have you been in her program?
I've been there almost a year. It's gonna be a year in December. So this is my other computer. I don't know if you can see it. It's
Gotcha.
like that.
Okay. So, but in
Just
there,
has
there's
creators.
obviously other people in there. You're not obviously all learning to high ticket close, right? There's just people
So this
learning
is
how to
the
sell.
like the software where you're supposed to get the offer, but it's like you DMing them.
Yeah, but I'm saying
in
to be part of her program, what else are you paying for? Are you paying to be part of a Skool community? Are you paying to be part of a Facebook community? Are you part of any kind of
No, I
community?
just
Just
paid
part of the
once.
website?
I just paid
Okay.
once, and then I'm there like as long as I'm there.
Okay.
And she suggests like DMing, and sometimes they put offers in the program, but there's like 3,000, almost 4,000 girls, and I feel like I've applied and nothing. And I'm not a person that's negative, but it's like, and a lot of people try to charge you money to get you in offers too. It's kind of insane here. So
Again, it's more of a trusted process when they do. Again, closers used to do it. It's not. It's just vets, because also you have to vet the companies you work with. So you need to make sure they're willing to do the work to put in, and they're trained, and it's part of the process. You have to think both sides of it. But Definitely. But if there's a school community group, reach out to other coaches. And so reach out to other people who are in there because they're in there to learn and work as well. So they might not be reps, they might be actual coaches setting up their own offer that are looking for reps. Do some like research on people in the group and then you have a free access into them.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I've been DMing people. Like I said, I've messaged like creators before, and I even have a sales page now, aside from my personal, because I was like, I have a separate, and that way it looks a little bit more professional.
Mm.
And even now, like people do like DM me, but it's like they're looking for experience. I was talking to this guy, I think his name, on my
Well,
DMs. He's for like from that poppy thing. He was asking me for like sales reps. And I told him straight up in his application, he's like, how much money have you closed? It's
yeah, but
Poppy AI sales job.
okay. Don't know anything about it.
And I told them, to be honest, I haven't closed like nothing, but I did go through this program where we did break down the call from the beginning all the way to the end. And I'm willing to do a mock call with you. And he just never replied.
Don't
I
tell him.
thought
Just
about sending an emoji, but
don't tell him you've not closed anything. Don't if you can back yourself to get yourself on a call, get yourself on a call. You're a setter. Treat it like the same thing.
Or seeing as your experience is in setting, could you not go back, seeing as with setting you get your basic, can you not go into a company that you can start off as a setter with the hope of progression? I started with Colton and 4 months in, he was like, I want you closing for me, and then took me under his wing. That's also an option. You get a bit of a safety net there as well. You build a rapport with the company and you show them your intentions that you want to progress. Boom, there you go as well.
yeah,
That's
I
a
mean,
slightly longer, it's a slightly longer process, but at least you're earning money instead of sitting there and not getting any callbacks. You know, you've got experience as a setter. Use your assets.
Especially if it's a company that you can earn good comms at. And even if it's ones you can progress in as well, because you'll learn quite twice as quick setting to how to close. It'll just be the next natural step.
Yeah.
yeah.
From setting, you'll
Well,
go into discovery calls and then closing.
Triage and then you move on to the next one. I'm like that's what I do. I set. I'm an outbound setter, so it's a slightly different role to a normal setter, but same progress. I'm still learning how to sell to move on, just with a
yeah.
company that I'm comfortable with. So
And
Well,
I've
that's
only just gone
exactly
into
what I'm
closing.
looking for as well. But I'm saying like there has been no luck.
Yeah, but
I would just say keep trying. It's so hard, but just keep trying. It sounds so cliche.
Okay,
Sounds so
can we
shit.
just let Tyler speak and so we can wrap it up because I need to go. I've got 2 minutes.
yeah, you're all good. I'm headed to the gym shortly as well. No, but on that one, look, I have no idea what Shelby's program or her software is like. I just know that Shelby's a very, very smart young lady, and she has done an absolute fucking masterclass at advertising herself. She really has.
Yeah.
Because personally, the whole DMing people a closing account that you have, if you're a business owner and you're hiring somebody, like it kind of makes sense for you to have like a closing profile and stuff, but it really doesn't. Like it really doesn't make sense because that just means you're really good at looking for sales jobs instead of actually like being the closer, if that makes sense, you know? So I personally haven't lent into that one. And I know for a fact that Shelby's made a shit ton of money.
She has, yeah. And that's the reason why I started my personal brand, because she says it and it's true. If you want
Yes,
people to get to know you, you need to advertise yourself like a maniac. I
exactly.
learned this from Iman too, which I
Yeah.
love him, and Shelby.
Yeah, it's just like they are masters of advertising. But when we're talking about the problem that we're trying to solve, which is getting you a job, then
It's not that.
the advertising doesn't help us shorten the gap between like point A and point B. And I think she became a victim of her own success when there was so many goddamn people that took her up on the offer of learning the thing that she got good at originally, which was high ticket sales, that now she exceeded the amount of demand with the supply that she had now created in the female high ticket closing space. And when we're talking about the resources that she has, which is a lot, there's a lot of offers there, but there's also a ton of you guys that are going after those offers. It's about again leveraging your own network and not just going through the mass application things, because if you're going through the mass application things, it means there's a lot of people that they're going through, which means you are kind of a bit expendable, you know. that, oh, Vanessa doesn't have this like great closing experience. This person's been closing for a few months. Automatically, they're going to go with that person, you know. But I mean, look, keep your head up because you've kept it up more than most people have. And I'm actually speaking to Sammy later on today that I think I mentioned I was going to speak to. He's running 3 offers. 2 of them are fitness. One of them is a B2B offer, connecting brands with influencers and creators for influencer marketing, which might be an interesting one. But I'm speaking to him today to see if he's got any openings for interviews over the next week or so. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I am keeping positive because I'm like, I know this is possible.
100%.
And so, yeah, I'm just keep applying and all of that. But I don't know, it's
Exactly.
kind of hard, this industry.
It is. It is tough because
Thick
there's
skin.
competition. There's a lot of fucking competition. But if you get through, I can tell you it's not a dream you've been sold. It is a reality. I promise you. Like what
Yeah.
once you've got an offer that's performing well and you are good and you are confident and you have a routine that's working and you're pulling in that money, you'll notice that it was worth it. But at the moment, I'm gonna be the last person to say to you it's easy because it fucking sucks. It's very tough. You know, I got into this 4 years ago and it was hard then. So I can't even begin to imagine how much competition there is nowadays, you know. But look, just know that the only thing that will guarantee that you don't get an offer is if you stop looking, you know. But I'm gonna help you look, and we're gonna do our best to make sure you're ready for those interviews when they come.
Thank you. I appreciate
I appreciate the small group today. It was good fun. I'm planning on doing this every week. I'm not expecting to see
Perfect.
it here every week, but I'll make sure it's a recurring invite. And whenever you want to drop by, drop by. But if not, you guys know where to reach me on my Closing with Tyler Instagram. I'll speak to you guys.
Thank you.
Later. Have a
Love,
great day.
guys.
Peace.
Thank you. Bye.